Get Gutsy episode number 192 with Nicole Harlow. Unlock your cycle. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey everyone, Jenny here. Welcome to the final week of April 2018. OMG, it's here. We are cruising. April is an interesting month for me because I've got two birthdays for my kids. I have three kids. Two of them have birthdays in April. My sister Julie's birthday is in April. Those of you who know me know that she passed away many, many, many moons ago, more than 20 years ago. And yet I honor her every day, but certainly every April on her birthday. And then we typically have spring break for the kids. We live in Massachusetts. We have both winter break and spring break here, which is really fun. We homeschool our boys, so like we can take breaks when we want to, but my daughter has been in nursery school this year, and so we're on that like traditional school schedule. And it was really fun. We just had spring break last week, and I love taking time off. Just like not having, well, I had a couple of things scheduled on my calendar, but very, very little. None of it was, like related to working in my business. It was me just, having play dates with my kids' friends and going on adventures to museums. And I did have one particular call with a new vendor that we're going to be working with, which is really exciting. But that was all just, intentional things to look at for my life and the future of, where this business is going. So make sure you take that time for yourself. It's so important. You can't be working in your business all of the time. That will just break you. It's not fun. It's not sustainable, and it's really not necessary, which I'm going to be diving into. Listen, if you're listening to this episode the day it's released, heads up, I am hosting a free online workshop today. It's the first online workshop that I've led for free all year. And that means I'm pulling out all the stops on this baby. I'm really pumped about it. And it's all about doing less and making more. I think, when you move into the entrepreneurial space, you are excited, you feel fired up, you're passionate, you're ready to change the world and help people. And then it's easy to work way too much and be doing all of the things that you feel like you are supposed to be doing, your colleagues are doing, or you were told you are needing to do. And it's just, honestly, that sucks. And you will eventually fall out of love with your business. You may fall out of love with your relationships in your life because you're not nurturing them. And you'll kind of just wake up one day going, WTF, what happened? Why? I can't keep doing this. Maybe I need to go back and just get like a job so I can be off, at the end of the day, and have a vacation and have a weekend and, all those sorts of things. So that's why I wanted to lead this workshop, because I have figured some stuff out, and I really had to. It was through sheer necessity, especially as I started, homeschooling. Gosh, we've been doing this now for about a year and a half now. And I had to get really, really intelligent on how we were going to pull this off. And I'm very fortunate. Stephen and I, we share this responsibility. We both work from home. We essentially create our own schedules, and we're able to do this. We truly do work as a team to give our kids what they need and to give our work what the work needs. So come to my workshop, will ya? jennyfennig.com/workshop. That's jennyfennig.com/workshop. I'm going to be sharing 5 steps to increasing your clarity, confidence, clients, and cash flow by celebrating doing less and making more. All right, so that's that. And I am going to be opening up applications for my 2 flagship programs. These programs are really the lifeblood of my business and my calling. I have a few other offerings too in my business, but these 2 are, big kahunas, if you will. But yet they have a very intimate feel. I like, especially for these 2 programs, to have a very tight knit circle. Women that I can really get to know, really support deeply. I'm not called with these programs for them to be like mass appeal or as many as we can fit in. It's really this curated group of leaders who step forward into either my mastermind or my coach certification school. So if you want to talk to me about being a part of one of those programs, we are going to be opening up the doors, and I'll be accepting applications and really interviewing candidates over the next few weeks. You can go to jennyfennig.com/apply, jennyfennig.com/apply. All right, so I am so pumped to share this episode with you today. Oh my goodness. Our guest is Nicole Harlow. She's spectacular. Like, I had a blast talking to her. A blast. The theme of this episode is unlock your cycle. And we're going to go super real with you because we're going to be talking about the wisdom of your menstrual cycle. And you should still listen to this episode even if you aren't cycling anymore, even if your cycle is irregular. This is all about supercharging your life. And I wish I would have been taught this in school. When I started my period back in middle school, there was no kind of beautiful ritual around it. There was no like women's circle that came together that said, oh my goodness, like really celebrated what was going on. I feel like back then it was like this, you were excited, but it was also shameful, and you would try to hide that you were going to the bathroom on your period while you were, holding your purse, and it was just this like weird time. And there's so much wisdom contained in our menstrual cycle, and certainly wisdom of the moon, the lunar cycle. And these things are totally linked. And I've been really diving deep into these cycles over the last several months as I just realized that this is everything. And in fact, I created a program earlier this year called Intuitive Power that dove into this deeply. And so when Nicole Harlow came across my radar, she came across actually like a year ago or something, and I just kind of didn't do much with. She really pitched to be on the show, and then I came back because I was like, I like her energy, I like her story, and she, since she had written that, kind of desire to be on the show back then, had stepped more fully into her calling on unlocking the wisdom of your cycle. So everything just lined up beautifully in terms of when I could get Nicole onto the show and what she was focusing on in her work. And so I know you're going to get so much from this episode. We're going to be talking about, well, obviously that, but also her crazy, awesome journey, which was she's been living as a digital nomad, and she eventually has settled down on a beach in the country of Malta. And she's not originally from Malta, she's originally from Philadelphia. She lived in a van for 3 months while running her web design business. She's been a serial entrepreneur. She's been involved in so many different ventures. She's just like interested in a lot of things. She's also a Gemini, as am I. So we just, oh my God, it was like we understood each other. Yes. And we talk about the importance of committing yourself to your work and monetizing on your ideas, and also allowing yourself to evolve as you do, allowing the work to evolve as you evolve. So I know you're going to get a tremendous amount of value from this episode with Nicole Harlow, all about unlocking your cycle. Enjoy.
Nicole Harlow, welcome to Get Gutsy. Thanks so much for being here today. Hi, it's awesome to be here with you, Jenny.
Yeah. Okay. So you originally from Philly, and tell everybody where you living now, because you're not in Philly
Yep.
or the United States.
I love that introduction. So, yeah, I'm a Philly girl at heart, born and raised East Coast in the city. Now I live on the tiny Mediterranean island of Malta, which is one of the smallest island nations in the world. It's like 12 miles by 12 miles. It's
Okay.
teeny tiny.
How did this happen? How did this happen?
So, I have always been a traveler at heart,
Mhm.
and my partner and I, he's British. We've been together for like 13 years now. And we're both digital nomads. And for me, digital nomading and location independence was like a goal for pretty much like since I was a teenager. I
Mhm.
knew I wanted to be able to like travel. I wasn't quite sure at the time what the vehicle was going to be, or even the business, or even the topic, the thing that I was going to be doing that would get me there. So
Mhm.
um, my partner and I, we lived in the US, we lived in England for years, and we had come back to the US about 3.5 years ago. And
Mhm.
we decided to sell everything and move into a van. We flew from Philly to Portland. We bought a custom van. We did like the whole like hashtag van life experience in
Down
the
by
Pacific.
a van down by the river.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we did that for like 3 or 4 months while working, like digital nomading from the van, picking up Wi-Fi wherever we could,
Yeah.
lots of McDonald's parking lots. Random fact, if you ever find yourself living in a van, you can get free Wi-Fi and Dick's Sporting Goods. So we would.
I like Dick's Sporting Goods for many reasons too. Just like side note on that, I am a fan of sensible gun ownership. I personally don't own any guns, but I don't know if you
uh,
keep tabs on what's happening here in the United States. But we have an issue with guns. Okay, big issue.
yeah.
And Dick's Sporting Goods came out in the last. We're recording this in March. They came out. They're not. They raised the age that you have to be to purchase a gun in Dick's. It used to be 18. Now they raised up
Yeah, I read that.
to
Yeah.
21, and they're not selling some of those assault rifles that they used to sell. And so anyway, I was thrilled. And of course, some gun people are not thrilled. But anyway, I'm like, Dick's Sporting Goods, like it's a
Yeah,
can
like
for
weird,
life, and they have
weird
Wi-Fi.
plug. So
Okay,
a
good to
random
know.
plug for Dick's
Yes,
Sporting Goods for
yes,
several different reasons.
yes.
So anyway, so we were doing the van life thing, and we did it for a few months, and it was starting to get a little old living in a van.
Mm-hmm,
I have to
mm-hmm,
say, I was kind of craving mod cons, and
mm-hmm.
we didn't even have a bathroom. I mean, we were living
Yikes!
in. This wasn't a camper van. This was like there was like a
Wow,
1980s like
that
kid
van that they
carrier
used to
van.
have, those
Yeah,
vans.
like
Yeah, the
a
van.
van, like a
Dude,
custom van that we
wow.
ripped out the seats. We put pergo flooring down. We got a little futon mattress.
Did you
Anyway,
cook in it? Did you have like a kind of a kitchen thing or not really?
no. We were eating cold food. It was rough. We were roughing it.
Wow.
Like,
Okay, but it
I'm
was just,
so glad I had
why
this
did you,
experience.
yeah, but like, so why were you called to do that? Was it just this thing? You just had to do it?
Yeah, you know what? I just wanted the experience. I wanted to see like what was it going to be like working from a van? Could I still maintain my business? Could I maintain my
What
sanity?
was your business at that time? Because I know
So at
you
the time,
evolved.
yeah. At the time, I was doing web design,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
which was actually pretty convenient for the van experience because web projects tend to be over a longer period of time
Right. Right.
rather than say if I was having coaching
Like
clients where I
easy
had.
on call. So you could work on your
Exactly.
projects whenever you had Wi-Fi and like whenever that worked for you, and then you deliver, your piece of
Yep.
the project. Okay.
Yeah. So if it took, I would do one big day, for example, or two big days in like a Starbucks or something
Mm-hmm.
and kind of hash out the work for the week. So the work I was doing at the time worked perfectly for van life,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said after like 3 months, I felt like I had done it, ticked it off my box, like did it. So I said, I'm really craving to go back to Europe. And I said, why don't we pick a new place? So we actually picked Berlin, and we started off a few months in Berlin. This was about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a January and February in Berlin. And
Cold. Mhm.
Cold, cold and gray.
I've been to Berlin in December. It's beautiful in December because they all those little Christmas markets up. But
Yep.
yeah, January and February is
Once
pumpkin.
you hit, yeah, exactly. Once you hit January,
Where are
February.
the markets? I'm like, where's the pretty markets?
Yeah. So we went from like cold, rainy Pacific Northwest in a van to like nice flat in Berlin, cool city, but it's still cold and gray. And I
Mhm.
said, babe,
Mhm.
if we can be anywhere in Europe right now, can
Mhm.
we please pick like a sunny, warm, beautiful place?
Mhm.
And so what we did is we got a bottle of wine. We pulled out Google Maps. We made a list of like pros and cons for different places that we could go to. Neither of us had ever been to Malta. And Malta came up on the list as this place that was like beautiful, cheap. It's super cheap to live here. There's a lot of like, for such a small place, there's quite a lot of like creatives, digital nomads from different
Cool.
countries. Like it's a small place, but it's a melting pot. You have a lot of like Swedish tech companies here, Norwegian tech companies.
Nice.
Um, so we, surprising to both of us, Malta came up tops of our pros and cons list. And anyway, so this was on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
and we booked tickets and we moved on a Wednesday.
Of the following week. I love it.
Yes.
That is rad.
So we went from like making this decision on Saturday. We didn't know anything about Malta. Neither of us had ever been here. All
Yeah.
we did was watch some YouTube videos about
That's
like,
all you need.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we just like Googled the crap out of it.
Yeah.
We moved on Wednesday and now we've been here for 3 years.
Wow. And so when you got there, was it like love at first sight? Were you just like, yeah, this is where it's supposed to be? Did you ever have any second thoughts once you arrived, or pretty much
Uh,
smooth sailing?
Look, in terms of landscape, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah. In terms of like price, convenience, and landscape, I was like, for sure. Because like we're right now we're paying like a third of what we paid for a crappy studio apartment in say Philly, for
Right.
example.
Right.
And we live on the beach. Like I mean, it's like it's beautiful, and
Uh-huh.
then you have the Mediterranean Sea and
Wow.
there's a
I
lot
love the
of
Mediterranean. Yeah.
like it's just so natural. The
Yeah.
climate is amazing. It's sunny almost all the time.
Wow.
It's warm almost all the time. Like you don't even really need a winter coat.
Wow.
But I have to admit that I did have a little bit of culture shock
Mm-hmm.
because Malta, even though it's still in Europe, is the foundations are quite different than other European countries because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of Arabic influence to
Mm-hmm.
Malta.
Mm-hmm.
The language is really different. The just even the way that the buildings look are really different.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of culture shock initially, but
What
that's
language is spoken?
so they speak Maltese and
That's what I was going to
English.
say. Maltese. Yeah, I was like, I know it's like a dog. Is that a language? I'm like, yeah, it is a
Yeah,
language. It's Maltese.
it
What?
is a really interesting language too because
Oh,
it has like Arabic influences, it has Italian influences. It's really
ah,
different than any language that I had heard.
wow. So they speak Maltese and English. You can get along with just knowing English, or have
Yeah.
you had to learn some Maltese? Uh huh.
No,
Yeah.
I have
Uh-huh.
to just do
You
English.
knew a few terms. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you like get there, and are you still doing your web design business at that point? Like what kind of
Yeah.
work? Okay. So that's what got you there. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
yeah, so you were able to continue on with those clients, and then I know you've like evolved in terms of what you do. And this is always like I love to talk about with our guest is the evolution of your work. And sometimes like our location influences that, or our lifestyle, or we go through all of a sudden. I know for me, when I like turned 30, it was like a big turning point. And then last year I turned 40 and it was like, I can't do some of those things anymore. Like I'm just
Yeah.
moved on. So what has happened for you in terms of the work now that you've hunkered down in Malta?
Oh, I love this question.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like to answer that, I feel like I have to go back a few steps
Yeah.
even because since I became an entrepreneur, which is probably going on about 12 years now, 12 or
Mm-hmm.
13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be what some people call a serial entrepreneur. So I've actually started and dropped and ditched lots of different businesses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the first business that I ever started out was burlesque teaching.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And, which is a really like the thing is like all the businesses that I've done have been quite different to one another, but there's always been this core, this thread that's run through all of them, which
Mm-hmm.
is women have always been the core of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whether that was working with female entrepreneurs in my design business, 100% of my clients have been women over the last 6 years. Not
Mm-hmm.
that I don't, it's not that I would say no to like a male client, but they just don't come to me. It's not in
Right.
the vibe that I'm putting out.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
very much like, so starting off with the burlesque, I wasn't a burlesque dancer. I had never performed on stage in that way. Again, I've always been a bootstrapper by nature. So turned to YouTube, figured out how to put together some choreography. And really, I did it because I wanted a way to communicate to women about their sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another core piece that starts to weave its way into a lot of the work that I do is females' bodies, female sexuality, female empowerment and self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, over 12 years, it takes a lot of different turns. So it starts off with the burlesque, it morphs into yoga and meditation and dance, but of a more kind of like 5 rhythms, ecstatic dance
Mm-hmm.
rather than like the burlesque. And then it starts to kind of weave its way again, and then I get more into at this phase, I'm getting more into like digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting more into design in general.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I said about the bootstrapping, it's like I didn't train in design. That wound up becoming another facet or another pivot point in my career.
Yes.
Because as a bootstrapping entrepreneur, I never had any money. So if you see something in my digital arsenal, I
Yeah.
have made it.
You made it.
I've recorded it, edited
Yeah.
it, built it
Mm-hmm.
from logos, and that's actually how I really touched on that as a business because
Mm-hmm.
through this process of being a serial entrepreneur and being a Gemini, so having this kind of a lot of air influence and a lot of like, the dueling twins, I always think of you have to make sure that both twins are happy.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, that's a lot of like in the work that I do, you see a lot of dualities. You see, oh, I'm going to create a course about astrology. Okay, now I'm going to teach about, something that's very scientific or analytic,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to talk about marketing metrics. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a part of my personality that loves having those dualities, having lots of different textures, if you would, to
Mm-hmm.
play with. And it
Mm-hmm.
took me years to get to the point where I realized that what I was actually craving was not this serial entrepreneurship necessarily, but I loved that first burst of creative energy.
Yeah.
I loved naming business. I loved logoing. I loved
Mm-hmm.
the whole, like for me, being able to like get a whole new set of colors and crayons to work with is
Mm-hmm.
basically what it felt like.
Yes.
And it took a while for me to finally have that light bulb moment that like, oh, do you know people make a career out of this?
Mm-hmm.
They make a career out of other people saying, hey, this is my toolbox. Like, what could you make out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And so I see it as that evolution is like, the first part of my business journey. And this was really around being in Philadelphia, being in the city,
Mm-hmm.
was trying lots of different things to see, basically throwing everything against the wall and seeing what stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was finding myself, just scrapping a lot of ideas. No, too location dependent.
Mm-hmm.
No, too resource intensive.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't see myself being interested in this for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of ideas that kind of hit the cutting room floor. Those
Right.
are things like food based, product based,
Yeah.
ideas of that would keep me really tied. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, location independence
Mm-hmm.
was a huge factor in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that like I was just loving that creative process, but there
Right.
was another way to do it and I could get paid at the same time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that's when the evolution moved into like a more design, marketing,
Uh-huh.
putting together like opt-in quizzes for
Mm-hmm.
people's business,
Mm-hmm.
setting those up for myself too. Like I said, always female clients. So there was still this huge thread of empowerment and working with really conscious business owners. And then in the last few years, now we're getting to this
Mm-hmm.
next transition, which
Mm-hmm.
is working with women with hormonal issues, working with the menstrual cycle,
Mm-hmm.
um, and bringing it in a way back front back into the body. But like what I've realized with every single pivot is that within the pivots, you start to bring the lessons of the last one with you.
Right.
So I feel like everything, now that this is the core of the work that I'm doing right now and what's really inspiring me at the moment, that's not to
Mm-hmm.
say that it won't ever change in the future, just because
Right.
I'm a changeable being.
You're a Gemini girl. Nicole, did you know that I am too?
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah. So you're saying this, I'm like, yes.
You get, yeah, so you get it.
And no one understands Gemini like another Gemini does.
Yeah.
And it's that dueling twins, and we get bored easily. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but yeah, when you feel like you have learned all the lessons that you're meant to learn, it's like the van thing. You're like, I'm good. We're set.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't just keep on doing this, even though like it could work more, whether it's like the van thing, or for me, it was being in the careers, being like, I am good at this, but I have learned everything there is to learn here. And the
Yes.
longer I stay, the less engaged I'm going to be. I knew at my last corporate job, I was like, I got to get out of here, because a colleague and we both were done. And then you had to figure out what you're going to go into next, and what we had started saying to each other was IDC, like the letters IDC, which meant I don't care. And that's not okay with me to like not care. That's not going to work long term. And so I think it's important that you bring that up, and for people to really understand their astrological sign. I think there's a lot of wisdom in our signs, and obviously our menstrual cycles and the moon, and like all of this like universal wisdom for us, because you can't compare yourself. Like I have a friend who's a Virgo, and like she can do one thing and like do that thing forever and like rock it out till the end of the earth and be like uber successful. And to me, I would be throwing up with boredom. Like it just, I can't, like I just can't do it. I have got to be moving into some new terrain, because that is what keeps life interesting for me.
Yes. Yeah. And my partner is a Capricorn. So I see him getting up every day and like going to work, kind of like, and his capacity to just like focus on the same thing, like day in and day out for years, is astounding to me. Because but like it's wonderful, the skills that we bring to the table.
Yes.
And now that we're talking about the Gemini thing, it's like, honestly, I think I beat myself up over this for years.
Me too.
And
Me
I
too.
could,
Why
yeah.
can't
And
I just be happy?
why can't I just stay with it?
Happy? Like
Why
I
can't I
just
just
stay
stick
here.
with one thing?
Yeah, this is an issue. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just not the way that we're made. And I think there are people out there who are very intrigued, like we have this air of like mysteriousness. I had a friend recently, we reconnected, and she was like, haven't you like, introduced a few new programs lately? I'm like, yeah, I'm in this like creation phase. Like sometimes when it just depends. I have 3 kids, and I remember last year in particular, it's just kind of where we were. Plus I had a big thing that was going on in my personal life with my Capricorn sun. And I need to put my energy there. Like my energy had to go there. So I didn't have the space to then create all these things in like my work, And then this year I feel like I've gotten things, they're kind of stable, and so I had all this like burst of energy to like bust out these new programs that I was interested in, that like you said, they're very much this duality. And I hadn't thought about it in the way that you had described, but to me, they just make so much sense. I'm like, well, yeah, like it's just because I have this wisdom inside of me, and I have this expertise, and I want to take you on this journey with me. Do you want to come? And, and that's what it is. And I think whether it's through astrology or just the sheer fact of knowing who you are and not comparing yourself to so-and-so who does it like that, and why can't you be more like that? It's just because you're not. That's just not you. So you've got to capitalize on what makes you unique. I mean, that's the core of branding. I was talking to a client earlier today, and I'm like, these photos that you take are so glorious. They like, I sometimes look at them like, are they even real? Like she lives in this really awesome place in England, and her photos are like glowing, and there's this like magic to them. And I said, she's going through a branding process for her business, and I'm, guiding her through it. Like, that's what I want to see in the photos of you. Like, I want to feel that magic in the way you're showing up, because that's how you see the world. I want the people to see you that way, because that's what makes you special. So that's what I want, our listeners really take in. got to know what makes you special. You got to know how you move through life, and don't dim that. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't try to like, edit that out. That's the stuff that we need.
Yeah, yeah. And I just wanted to add something about
Mm-hmm.
like working in this way, and if I could impart any hard-earned wisdom
Mm-hmm.
onto listeners here, especially if you're the type of personality that has lots of ideas, finds yourself kind of flitting from one idea to the next. The two things that have worked the most for me, one is making a commitment. Like I will tell myself, you can create this. You
Mm-hmm.
can, I feel I've given myself permission to create anything that takes my fancy, anything that's up for me in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I commit to putting great systems in place to make sure that that sells passively
Mm-hmm.
for good. Because
Mm-hmm.
there are things that I've created that, like, okay, so I created a course on astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're talking about it right now, it's not necessarily what's up for me in my business.
Right.
I like at this point, I want to be talking to women about hormones. I want to be helping in my
Mm-hmm.
clinic, but like my commitment to myself is make sure that this is a passive course that has a funnel
Mm-hmm.
where like I am literally still giving out that message, and
Got
I
it.
am like creating that. So that was my promise to myself, was that I would be smart about monetizing the ideas,
Mm-hmm.
because once I'm done with that, I rarely want to go back to it again.
Yes. Yes.
So it could still continue to work for me. So I've committed to myself that, I've promised myself that what's up for me, I will follow that, as long as I'm committed to making sure that that continues to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not always the best person to do that. And so that might be hiring somebody who's great at Facebook ads, who's great at
Mm-hmm.
putting sales funnels together,
Mm-hmm.
who can help you with like a passive income strategy for those ideas. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this only, I'm not sure how this translates into every business, but for me, that's been the best part of it, is saying, how will this continue to work? And then the other piece of advice here, and what's been really helpful for me in my business, is to find a tribe, like create your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
love them hard,
Mm-hmm.
support them. And a lot of times what I found is that my community is willing to go with me wherever I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So like I started a tribe of my yoga students. Some of them wound up being female entrepreneurs. They then wanted a website for me. Now website clients are coming to my clinic for me to help them with their hormone issues.
And you're doing your clinic online?
Yeah, online, and then I have an in-person clinic here in Malta too.
Oh,
So I do,
cool.
which is nice because it's the first time in years that I've really started to like integrate that in-person piece.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
I still want to make sure that the core of my business is digital. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that for me is a non-negotiable. I want to make sure that I can always pack the laptop and get the Wi-Fi and still maintain my
Mm-hmm.
business,
I
because
wonder if that's like a piece of the Gemini thing too.
I think so.
That,
I don't ever want to feel like, I love it here, but I
yeah.
don't want to feel tied down anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even want to feel tied down within me being here, like to my schedule here. When I think
Yes.
about, wait, I have to be at that same place every day of every week. Like, wait, hold on. Like, I don't know. I mean, it could be so awesome, but just the thought of that, it's very, yeah, it doesn't feel good in my body,
Yeah.
because the Gemini, we're like the butterflies. We like to be able to move and groove, and you have to understand that, and to like really the willingness to say no to an opportunity, because that's just going to clip your wings.
Yeah.
Even if the opportunity is going, oh my God, you'll grow your audience and you can make this money, and it's like, because it's not worth it. It's really not worth it to somebody who needs that freedom, who needs to be able to say, you know what, for the next few weeks, like I'm not taking any appointments because I'm going off to do this or to do that. And that's critical to get. It really is. And that's honestly what drew me to entrepreneurship to begin with, is I just wanted to be able to
Me too.
decide how I want to design this thing, and to be able to do it. I love what you said about, the tribe. So how do you now, in terms of like tribe building, what is it that you're doing to communicate with your tribe, to, love up who you have, and then to invite new people in?
Okay. I love this question because it's something that I love doing, and things have shifted a little bit for me recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started a YouTube channel
Mm-hmm.
with a web series, and I'm creating content now every week, like doing videos, talking
Mm-hmm.
about different topics,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of fun things as well. So like natural makeup challenges, like
Mm-hmm.
swapping out like different products in my makeup bag that are like chemical,
Mm-hmm.
toxic, endocrine
Mm-hmm.
disruptors with like natural things. And so sharing that. But as well, but also kind of like getting down to like the nuts and bolts of like hormone imbalance, endocrine disruption, things like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, infertility,
Yeah.
hormonal acne, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I'm really loving creating the video content. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that like we're so blessed to live in the technological advances that happen right now, because all of that I do myself. You know, it's a tripod, it's my camera, it's my lighting setup. I edit it myself. So it's not a team, you know. You can really start from where you're at. You can
Mm-hmm.
really start with your iPhone, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
start creating this content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in addition to that, I have a private Facebook group, Girl
Mm-hmm.
Meets Body, which is
Cool.
what the channel is also called, Girl Meets Body.
Mm-hmm.
So people can kind of come into the group, and we do like things like exercise challenges every month. I give a playlist.
Mm-hmm.
I give like a hormone friendly diet plan, nutrition plan, like a meal plan, basically, like a calendar of meal
Mm-hmm.
ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And
And is
then I
that
have,
like a subscription service that you have, or is that
no,
like
it's totally free. It's just
totally free? Okay, so you're doing
yeah,
it as like a
free.
tribe thing, and then and where's the revenue? Where do the revenue pieces come in with what you're doing with hormones now, and really spreading the word about that?
Oh, so that is, I have an online course.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Unlock Your Cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through all the facets of hormones. It goes through fertility awareness. So, how, like,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, so if I can kind of dig into it like a little deeper of my psychology, I've always been someone who's been really interested in noticing patterns, observing patterns, and figuring out how to tweak them. So,
Mm-hmm.
if that's you know, sometimes it's astrology, like learning more about
Mm-hmm.
myself, because the desire really and the core is to like optimize my own performance or optimize my own life. So,
Right.
you know, if I find out, oh, okay, a Gemini with this, and if I can put these together
Mm-hmm.
into a pattern, then I
Mm-hmm.
can start to use some of the principles to like know how I work best, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
hormones was just, and the menstrual cycle was another piece of that. Like it's another facet of saying, hey, you know what? I'm really into astrology and the patterns that I see here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of look over here and I'm like, wow, there's like a scientific basis for using the menstrual cycle
Mm-hmm.
to empower, I think, every single aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just about getting your period. It's not just about getting pregnant or managing symptoms, although that is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's often the way that women find me through the clinic or through the online program, is to
Mm-hmm.
mitigate symptoms. I
Mm-hmm.
have hormonal acne. I'm not sleeping at night.
Mm-hmm.
But what they find, it's kind of like the secret side effect. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what I teach in the program,
Mm-hmm.
is how can you use this to supercharge every aspect of your life?
Mm-hmm.
So we have
Yes.
facets of the program about sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
There's a facet called Unlock Your Business. That's part of
Mm-hmm.
the program. Unlock your business with your menstrual cycle.
Yes.
Unlock your schedule. Unlock your lifestyle. And so
Mm-hmm.
I go through systematically, and it's you know, it's a DIY program. You can go at your own pace, but I go through systematically showing women how you can apply the principles of your menstrual cycle to every aspect, to be better at your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
to exercise more wisely, to have more pleasure, you know, what like,
Mm-hmm.
and to really kick ass at your business too.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love how you've just gone there. I mean, nobody really gave you permission to do this. You just did it, right? It was just one of those like, I'm interested in this and I'm learning and I feel like I can help people. So I'm going to help people.
Yes. And I saw the way that I was applying the principles. I mean, very short version, because I don't want to get into this. I know we don't have a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I have polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yes.
I didn't get, so I've known this, you know, I was on the pill for years.
You and me
Got
both.
the, yep, got the
So that's
doctor
what you
brush.
did. Mm-hmm.
Yep, got the doctor brush off. Nothing's wrong with you. Your symptoms are all in your head. Went off the pill, gained 45 pounds, never got my period, was like anxiety, depression, constant companions in my life, and thought there's got to be a better way. The gynecologist said, "Oh, your only way is to go back on the pill." And I was like, I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so what I create, and this, the work that I'm doing now, I've been working on this for years.
Right. This has been your own personal journey. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so, got myself to a place where I'm cycling normally. I get my period every single month. I'm at a good weight for my body. I feel great, athletic, healthy, have loads of energy. So I applied the nutritional supplement, healthy lifestyle principles first to my body.
Yes. Yes.
Saw that they were working, continued to learn and research. So I have used myself as this research, like
Yes.
I
Yes.
have been doing the research project on
Right.
myself for
Right.
over a decade.
Right.
And once I saw, okay, these principles work,
Mm-hmm.
then I started to apply the principles to other aspects of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got to the place where I was using it for my business and my creativity, and I saw how my, just on all different levels, like how my output was increased, how I was getting better results month over month just by plugging into the system, I was like, I have to teach other women this.
Yes.
And
Love
it
it.
was also because I was, at the time, this was a few years ago, I was starting to ask the women in my life, like, did you know this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like one real world example, like I was like, did you know, like, when we're in our ovulatory phase, that we're like statistically more persuasive, that we're more
Mm.
likely to get a raise, to close a deal.
Yes, that's when your
um
fullest power. It's connected to
yes,
the full moon. It's
yes.
connected to the full moon. And it's like, yeah, we should have been taught this shit in school. And we
Why
weren't.
don't we
We
know
were
this about
told
our bodies?
because it was dirty. We were on the rag.
Yeah,
You had to
yeah,
hide. You
yeah.
brought your little purse to the bathroom. You're like, oh God, everyone knows I'm like on my period right now. Cause I never bring my purse unless I'm on, And so, yeah, it's just, I'm so glad that you're teaching this. And, you know, there's just so much I want to say about that. That book, The Red Tent, was like a big eye opener for me. And then I read a book. I don't know if you've read this book, Witch by Lisa Lister. Have you?
Oh, she's a friend of mine.
Um,
Yeah,
oh my
love
gosh.
her. Yeah,
Her
yeah,
book like really changed my life.
yeah.
A few months back, I read that and it was like everything clicked in. It was just
Yes.
like boom, 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 boom. It like filled in the gaps inside of me, and it inspired me. I told you in the pre-show, like I wanted, I got into astrology when I was in college. I did a persuasive speech on it. Speaking about persuasion, we had to pick a topic, and I
Maybe
was like,
you were
I'm going to
ovulating.
do astrology because like this purple book, it's called The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need by Joanne Woolfolk. It's so good. And we got it in college. And I remember reading it after coming home late one night from like partying. And I cracked open the book and I was like, oh, oh my God. It was just all this wisdom in there. And I've just been really following that ever since. But like mainstream society doesn't talk about this, doesn't want you to know about this. And then once you, especially as a woman, go in and realize we have this, it's inside of us. Like we are the moon. We have the same cycle as the moon. Why aren't we working with that? And like you, I said, I want to teach women this. And so I created my own program where I realized, our cycles they don't always sync up with what's happening in the lunar cycle, but you can make those correlations and really be intelligent about when you're, making deals, or when you're like, you know what, I really can't do calls this week because this is when I am bleeding and I need to be in my, I need to be in rest. I need to be in
Yeah,
renewal. And this is
protecting.
exactly. And we should be doing this. And I'm really glad that you're teaching it.
Yeah, and there's, what, talking of protection, like I have a few days in my cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and I invite women listeners, especially if they're cycling, if they're still cycling,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being postmenopausal. But I mean, postmenopausal women still have a hormonal
Mm-hmm.
cycle. It's just not as pronounced as
Mm-hmm.
menstruating women. But for me, it's usually those, like the time, it's as I'm moving into my follicular phase, which for listeners is like after you stop bleeding but before you've ovulated.
Okay.
So nature kind of gives us this window of time. It's like when we're at our maiden, like we're not bleeding and we haven't moved into that ripe fullness yet of ovulation.
Mm-hmm.
Nature gives you this window where your body is actually not focused on getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So your biological imperative is not to necessarily like be likable, lovable, sensual,
Mm-hmm.
voluptuous in the way that we are at our fullness at
Mm-hmm.
ovulation. That's why we're so persuasive. I mean, our even our features, we feel better about ourselves, we look better. But when you have the follicular window, for me, I have noticed that I get more done during that 4 days. Like it's for me, it's about 4 days, 3 to 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
I get more done during that time period than I will for the rest of the month,
Wow.
almost cumulatively. Probably
Wow.
not quite cumulatively, but pretty close, you know? So for me, that's a protective time that
Mhm.
I guard like so fiercely.
So does that mean you're not scheduling other things? It's like that's when you're producing during that.
That's, yes, that for me is high intensity of creativity time.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
usually every month, what I do is I'll set myself a big project. Sometimes it's big and technical.
Mm-hmm.
Like this month, I'm working on perfecting a sales funnel.
Okay.
And if anybody's ever put a sales funnel together,
Mm-hmm.
it's like can be like a head trip, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because there's all these moving parts and you have to
Mm-hmm.
think about like, oh, at what level do I want them to see this offer? And is this
Mm-hmm.
messaging right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just getting all the tech pieces to work together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's the project that I've set myself for this month. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's making a course, you know, sometimes it's putting together like an ebook, sometimes it's
Right.
just like batch batch writing a bunch of blog posts or batching a
Right.
bunch of, I wouldn't necessarily do interviews during that time.
Right.
That's
It just needs to
but
be more internal. Mm-hmm.
yes, I mean what I think, and most women, I think some people are outliers, but for the most part the women that I've talked to and just reading the literature about it,
Mm-hmm.
during this time you don't actually feel very social. You
Mm-hmm.
feel in a good mood, like you
Yes.
feel good, but this is that very much like close the door, I'm pulling an all-nighter
Yes.
and
Leave
I'm
me
getting this
alone.
shit done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
have high energy, and it is a little bit easy to burn yourself out during this time because you
Yes.
can just go.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you know, this is something where there's usually 2 nights of the month that I can't sleep very well. It's
Ah,
during this part of my phase.
got
I
it.
had one. That's actually where I'm at right now, just on the tail end. I'm
Yeah.
moving into ovulation, so this is a great.
Yes.
It was a great time to talk to you today
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
my energy is high, and I'm starting
Mm-hmm.
to phase out where I'm actually becoming more social.
Right.
In a few days' time, I'll be at the height of my social, but that's actually hard for me to pin me down in terms of focus
Mm-hmm.
because I want to text, I want to call, I want to go out and
Um,
see friends, you know, so I have to move with that energy too. And
right.
say, when I'm in this phase, what am I most likely to want? Oh, this is when I'll record YouTube videos because I'm going to be chatty,
Mm-hmm.
conversational, verbose, outgoing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that follicular phase, the days before, for me, it's a lot of times it's like shut the door. And if that energy is keeping me up at night, and this is when I have some of my best ideas, it's like, right, where do I want to be in my business in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2 a.m., you know, I'll sleep good for the rest of the month.
So
But
you ride that energy. You're like, you know
I
what? I'm
ride it
not
out.
feeling
Yeah.
guilty. I'm staying up
Yep.
because I get these like twice, 2 nights a month, and then
Yep.
I gotta wait again for another month. That's really good insight because sometimes you know it's like, fuck, I feel bad. I'm up and I should be sleeping right. Well, but I got 3 kids, so I can't like sleeping in the morning. So I got to deal with that. You know, it's the whole
Yeah.
that whole game. But you know, I identify that very much. And I remember in college, I could like stay up and study. Because for me that was like the puzzle I was putting together. All right, I'm going to have this exam tomorrow. And I know if I kind of figure out these elements, I'm going to get like a really good grade. And that was the fun game for me. And I still am able to do that. I don't want to do it all the time in my business,
Yeah.
but I have those moments, like you said, and I'm going to do a better job tracking that now to see when does that happen, where it's just, I can't help it. I've got to just ride it. And my husband be
Yep.
like, what time do you go to bed? I'm like, it's fine. You know, like just don't ask
Yeah.
me to do something. I don't know, something in the twos.
That's why you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's why I'm an
Um,
entrepreneur. But if you can start timing it and see, does it fall within a predictable window? With me, it's usually days 6, 7, 8.
in the cycle.
It may be a
Okay.
little bit different, but you'll usually find that it's around that time. Like
Mm-hmm. Cool.
somewhere between like 6 to 10, you may have like a night or two where your mind is just up. And if you're an
Yes.
ideas person and your business thrives on writing out a list of blog posts or
Mm-hmm.
who do you need to contact. I give myself permission to, like, if the energy is there, I'm going to
Email
use
them at 3 a.m. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it.
I used to be like, you know what? I'll like schedule it so it goes out at 9 a.m. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to hide. This is it. Like this is the truth. And I just think it's so important for us to be in this, and as women too, to share this wisdom that we should be sharing. But again, in Lisa's book, which we were persecuted for this way
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
day, and so some of that is still within us. If you believe in former lives, like I do, I mean, I was burned at the stake. I like know it, and so it's still kind of, we've got to shake that off, like and be able to share this wisdom so that we can work with these energies, so that we can have this beautiful stuff that we create that changes lives, and that we're not trying to do it that goes against our body, that we're not just taking other people's opinions, which is what those doctors and OBGYNs were telling you. I remember when I got off the pill, I was on it for all those years, and then I actually wanted to have kids, and I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, this is switching. And I remember after my first son was born, I went back, like, they had this thing called the mini pill, and I
Mm-hmm.
like took it for like a month. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to put anything else in my body. I am just not doing it. It just felt wrong, and I haven't gone back ever since. You have to just understand what game is being played, and ask yourself if you want to be in that system. There's
Yeah.
other ways to, take charge of your body and to, be clean. Like you need that to like really tap into your most innate wisdom.
Yeah. And, like, birth control pills, and that's a whole nother conversation that we could
Yes.
probably spend another hour
Mm-hmm.
talking about,
Mm-hmm.
from the side effects to big pharma and all these different things.
Yes.
But the one thing I will say about birth control pills for women to know, because this is not something that we were taught. I mean, I was on the pill for years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't realize is, ovulation is not just about having a baby or getting pregnant.
Yes.
Ovulation is a pinnacle moment in your cycle that affects not just like whether you're fertile or not. It affects how you feel about yourself. It affects
Yes.
your libido. It affects
Yes.
your creativity. And
Yes.
the way that this moves throughout the month, like, not so for some people it feels like a roller coaster. That means your hormones are imbalanced. It should be
Mm-hmm.
this gentle wave. We go
Right.
through a wave throughout the month. We have
Mm-hmm.
periods where we have lots of focus. We have periods where we're feeling social.
Mm-hmm.
We're designed to have this natural flux.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go on birth control pills, you flatline.
Yes.
Because you don't ovulate,
Mm-hmm.
you cut off that range of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe you're not having, the
The
full,
highs.
the
Yeah. And the
highs and the
lows.
lows,
Mm-hmm.
but I will take them
Me too.
over feeling flatlined,
Exactly.
because I would
Exactly.
rather feel the full range of human experience as a
Mm-hmm.
woman
Mm-hmm.
as it flows throughout the month,
Right.
and get that beautiful burst that I get in ovulation.
Actually, it's
Get
like,
that
yeah.
beautiful burst during the follicular phase where I
Mm-hmm.
can create, where
Mm-hmm.
my brain is on fire with ideas.
Totally, totally, totally. And to trust that, like, there's a reason why. I mean, there's a reason why we have the new moon, and then, the waxy moon into the full moon,
Absolutely.
into the
Yeah.
waning moon. And once you really go into that and you can feel the energies, that's why I created a program this year called Intuitive Power. And that's what it was rooted in. I had a blast leading that thing. It was like so easy for me. It was so fun. The women, I mean, what happened as a result, I was just like, and I was creating it as I went, which is I teach that principle too, because I teach about, program design and, getting it out there and filling your programs, because I've been doing that for so long. That was such a joy for me, because it just came from within, and it was spreading that wisdom that we have as women. And I just want more of this to be happening in the world. There's,
Yes.
entrepreneurship doesn't have to be corporate-y. It doesn't have to be so like fit in the box and nice and neat. That's not how our bodies are made. That's not how
Right.
the universe works. And the more that we can to like really be in this and spread it, the more sustainable this life is going to become. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. You're going to get sick. You had polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? PCOS.
Yeah.
that is what's going to happen. I've seen it with so many people. I've manifested my own stuff, which luckily I've moved through, because you have to clear it and you have to realize that you've just been living under somebody else's system that's fucked up, and
Yeah.
you don't have to anymore. You just don't have to anymore. So Nicole, where
And
can people find out?
we're not
Yeah.
linear.
No. Oh my
We're
God.
not
No.
linear. That's,
Not as
that's
women. Not as women.
as women, we are cyclical beings, and the
Yes.
planet is cyclical, and the
Yes.
moon is
And the
cyclical.
seasons. And I'm
And
gonna,
there are so many of these
not even just the seasons, but who it was. Make sure you tell Lisa that her book impacted me so much. I learned about Sabbats. She mentions them in her book. And then I met a friend of mine in Salem. You're going to kick out of this. I went to Salem, Massachusetts earlier this year, because I read the book. I was like, I have to go to Salem. And, I live in Massachusetts. So yes. And I went to this really awesome little store there called the Covens Cottage. Oh my gosh, so cute. And they had this amazing little library there, and they had this book called Sabbats, and I got it. And I've been kind of bringing these out with my people, with like little programs like, oh, it's in bulk. Oh, it's belting.
Oh yeah.
It's really fun. And it feels good to work with the earth. And yes. Okay, Nicole, where can people go find you? Where do you want to send them?
Okay, so you can find me on my website. It's the cmsh.org. That's the Center for Menstrual and Sexual Health. And on the website, I've actually put together this quiz. It's a really cool system. It's called the Hormonal Archetype Quiz.
Cool.
It's one question. It takes less than 2 minutes, and it will let you know if you have any hormonal imbalances.
Nice.
And it's totally free. Like, so people there's a PDF that gives you like a four-part protocol. There's a video that explains it. So that's the first step. Like, go to the website, take the quiz, see what's going on with your hormones, because a lot of women have no idea that their symptoms are linked. Right. And the thing is, we could have these symptoms for like our whole bleeding life.
Right.
And think, oh, that's not a symptom, when actually it is.
Yes.
Like PMS mood swings are a symptom.
Yes.
They're not necessarily supposed to be part of.
Yeah.
We just have had it for so long that we think, oh, that's just part of it. It's not. Right. So go there, take the quiz. Then you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube, Girl Meets Body. So Girl Meets Body is the Facebook group, Girl Meets Body on Instagram, and Girl Meets Body, check out the YouTube channel too, because I give a lot of free videos there with different content.
Love it. Very cool. I love it. Okay, everyone's going to go check your stuff out.
Awesome.
Well, I have enjoyed our conversation very much.
Me too. Oh my God, I could talk about this for hours.
I know. It's super fun. It's super fun. Well, I want to know, you're very gutsy. You've done a lot of gutsy things. What is your response? Oh, hey, Kate, we're almost with my next guest. Hey, Kate, we're almost finished. I'll talk with you in a few, okay? All right. She's like, what? Okay. Y'all, this is my little technique too, is I batch my interviews. And so I'm just
I batch work everything.
I just go, and that's me maximizing my cycle, my energy, and all that stuff. Okay.
Totally. I do it all the time.
What is the answer to our finale question? What is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
Great. Okay. So we talked a lot in the beginning about gutsy moves, physical moves that I've done all throughout the world, Europe, Malta, doing it on a whim. But I have to say, probably the gutsiest one was the very first move, the one that kicked it all off. And that is when I was 22, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. I did my last final. I literally handed in my final, got on a flight to Greece for the summer. Where I was going to work at a yoga retreat. Never went to my college graduation or anything. And that was one, gutsy, because no one in my family had ever traveled. It was totally like I was breaking the mold, basically. Yes. Getting the passport, leaving the system, like leaving the university. And that inspired literally everything that came beyond. I met my partner there, my whole bouncing around the world, location independence, all came from that one gutsy move of like, I want to follow my heart to do something different, rather than like what I saw around me was the traditional, like, go to college, get the job, pay back your student loans. I was like, F all that. Yes. I'm doing something different. I'm charting my own course. Totally. I don't know where the path is leading, but it's led me here to Malta. And it will lead
Absolutely.
me somewhere else beyond here too, because I know my chapter, maybe this chapter will come to a close and there'll be a new pivot, there'll be a new place to go to.
Yeah.
And everything started from that one gutsy move.
That one got me. Where in Greece were you?
On an island called Skiros.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
My husband and I went to Greece on our honeymoon. Well, we did a cruise
I
through the
love it.
Mediterranean. Didn't stop in Malta, but I love Greece. I will go
It's
back.
my favorite place. Yeah,
Uh, Gosh, I've done
beautiful.
Mykonos,
It's
Santorini,
magical.
Rhodes. Very magical. Very magical. I love that you did that. That was very, very bold. And I can hear your Philly. I have a good friend of mine, and I'm going to share this episode with her even before it goes live because I know she's going to get something from it. She's originally from Philly, and I know she's in the midst of like there's some kind of transition going on. And so I feel like she's going to get a lot of energy and insight and wisdom from this conversation today, as will all of our listeners today. So thank you so much, Nicole. I'm very
Awesome. It was great. I
happy.
mean, you could never, you could take the girl out of Philly, but you never take the Philly out of the girl. And we just this year, our team won the Super Bowl, and I stayed up till 4 a.m.
Oh
watching
my
it over
God,
here in
that's
Europe.
right. Yes, yes.
So it's like, it
Congratulations.
doesn't matter how far
You're
away I
still,
am.
yeah, you still
There's
feel
still a
connected.
connection.
I know. Well, I feel I'm far
Yeah.
from home because I grew up in Florida and Georgia, and I'm in like New England now. And that feels
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, you can't, there's like a glare, but I have a huge like snowfall behind me. There's so much snow.
Wow.
And it's like, it's still snowing. It's snowing right now. So yeah, you have to be willing to just follow those nudges and like, you'll figure it out. Y'all, you will figure it out. Stop making it so freaking complex in your brain. It's
Yeah,
like you're
you don't
freaking
need to
smart.
know the
You'll
ending.
just get there and
Yeah.
then things will show up for you and then you'll do this thing. And then, if you decide you don't like it, you'll go someplace else. It's
Yeah. And the
fine.
more that you trust, I notice the more that things work out,
That's right.
that,
The
that I
universe
do
always
believe
is
the
like hooking you
universe
up.
provides. Yep.
Yeah. Universe
I
hooks you
gotta, I
up.
gotta live in that trust and
Yes.
live in that gutsy way.
That's right. That's right, Nicole. Well, you're amazing.
Awesome.
Everybody tuning in, you're amazing too. This is Jenny Fennick sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. See you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfennick.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfennick.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.